Okay, if you'll take your seats, people, let's get started. I know you guys are hams and you like to talk. It is on. It is on. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Up more, he says. Is that better? Okay. I can put this down and talk loud. I'm able to do that. All right, well, welcome. Do we have any new members? Who's here for the first time? Right here? Please introduce yourself. You didn't know I was going to do that, did you?
Wrong answer there. Okay, I'm Kelly Smith. I just come up first time with my neighbor here, KJ7 UHC.
Welcome, Kelly. Glad to have you. Over here on the other side. You guys don't know it, but I'm practically a cripple. Oh, you're over here? How'd I miss you?
Sorry, I was just talking to him. Hi, I'm David, Kilo Juliet 7 Golf Yankee Golf, KG7 GYG. I'm new here.
Good. Glad to have you. Anybody else on this side of the room before I go over there? Okay. It's the same old joke. I only do this for the exercise. Never has actually been funny, but doesn't stop me.
Hey all, I'm Tom Woodbury. Just my first time here. I'm just here with my friend Will. Just have an interest in amateur radio.
Good. Yeah, I've come to the right place. Anybody else? No. Okay. Any upgrades? No upgrades. Everybody in here is an extra. All right, I have quite a few announcements today, things to talk about. First of all, Rick, tell us about the books. I'll walk back up there. See what I mean? You think I'm kidding when I say I do this for my exercise.
You just wanted the extra exercise, right? So no extras for the new manuals yet, but there is still one that is valid until the end of June. So if you're wanting to get that one sooner rather than later, there's a chance. Do have the same sale items and do have some titles that we have not had before, one on antenna towers, and I have restocked a couple of other antenna books, magic band antennas and receiving antennas. So also have an antenna zoning book if you're so inclined. That's all I had. 10% off for special orders.
Thank you. On this extra manual that's going to turn into a pumpkin in a month or so, actually I think less than a month, the test questions generally only change about 10%. So in actuality, if you got that book at a discount, it's a pretty good deal. Okay. I expected that we would have lost our parking today, but we still have it. Once again, we will lose it at the drop of a hat one of these days. If and when that happens, and we know that it's going to sooner or later, park on the north side of the Merrill Engineering Building, which is this big building that these guys live in.
It's the one with the big antenna tower on it.
That's right, the one with the big antenna tower. On the north side, we're authorized to park there. Field day is coming upon us quickly. It is always the fourth full weekend in June, which this time will be June 22nd and 23rd. And we need volunteers to help. And Adam, how are we doing with, where's Adam? Ah, here we are. How are we doing with volunteers?
I'll come to you.
Oh, you're taking pity on me.
Yeah. I think you've gotten enough exercise. So we do have a bunch of people that have signed up. There is the sign-up sheet. I believe it's on the website, James. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I will have to double check, but I will make sure.
Okay. If it isn't, it will be here shortly. We definitely still need people to help man stations. We have plenty of people for the GOTA station right now. At our next meeting, I plan on bringing a sign-up sheet just to see who will actually man stations. Last year, there were just a few of us running the stations hard, and we'd really like to actually man the stations the entire time or as close as we can. Calf and cow still need transportation up if you know how to tow up the mountain roads. If you have a vehicle capable, please do contact me. My email should be on the sign-up sheet. If it isn't, I will correct that here in just a couple minutes when I sit back down. And what am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something.
You'll think about it after the meeting.
Yeah, I'll think about it after the meeting. Again, if you have questions, if you're willing to volunteer, KK7NJJ, that's Kilo 7, November Juliet Juliet at gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out. Yeah, thank you all.
Thanks, Adam. Field day is a big deal. If you've never been to a field day, you know, even if you've got a couple of people in here that are not yet licensed, even if you're not licensed, come on down if you feel inclined. The information about where we hold field day is on the UARC website. HamCon Zion is our division convention this year. It's going to be held down in St. George. It seems to be coming together pretty well. It's on July 12th and 13th, which actually caused us to move our steak fry 1 week, but we decided that it made sense to support the Ham Fest. If you've never been to a Ham Fest, it's worth going to. It will also, they have the YLRL organization has decided that they are going to celebrate their 85th anniversary at this Ham Fest. As well, the RV Radio Network Western Rally will be rolled into this Ham Fest as well. As I stated before, steak fry is moved. It's moved to July 20th. We have a work party scheduled at the Leamington remote radio site on the 25th of this month. Did I get that right? It is the 25th, right? I hope so, because that's when I'm planning to be there. Yeah, we're going to add a 6-meter beam to the tower, and if you've never checked out that remote radio station, it is a true wonder. Anything else that I am missing? Have I forgotten anything? Is that enough? Okay, it's enough. I'm going to introduce our program people then. Mel Parks, NM7P, is actually the president of Utah VHF Society, but we're not going to hold that against him. And John Lloyd, K7JL, is our division frequency coordinator and also repeater engineer for the Utah VHF Society. I managed to get that out. So I'm going to turn it over to these two, and they are going to enlighten us about some things. Yes.
First, I'd like to ask a question about the Leamington remote. How many in this room have used the Leamington remote? If you haven't used it, please consider using it. It's a really, really neat site. I'm a little jealous, though. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. I love using it, and it's not very busy, but it's a really neat way to reach out if you're in an area where your antenna doesn't work as well as you'd like it to. And I've been able to make contacts all over the world on that site. And I'd like to just thank our club for all the effort they put in to make that site work. So much for Leamington. Thank you very much, Marvin. The Utah VHF Society is a new organization compared to the Utah Amateur Radio Club. We were formed in 1969, and we did some efforts before that time with some of the repeater efforts that were started in the state of Utah. One of our members, who is a silent key, Don Blanchard, registered the first licensed repeater that was issued by the FCC, and the FCC used to license repeaters. And Don Blanchard got WR AAA as the call sign. WR7 AAA. And that was really a neat thing because Utah was one of the leaders in doing linked repeaters throughout the state of Utah. I think the first link was from was it from Farnsworth down to Blowhard? Frisco, yeah. And Frisco is just outside of Beaver on the west side of the valley. But that was a really interesting thing that happened. And since then, many people have put up repeaters and many groups have organized linked repeaters. But our system has grown, and we've been very impressed by the use of the repeater. Just recently, last year, we were able to link into our sister organization in Arizona, and now when you use our linked system, you can talk all the way down to Phoenix on our system. And we've also got the system up in the Idaho area, southern Idaho, and our engineer in Idaho has just done something creative and different. He decided to add another link onto the Boise system, and it's located in Oregon, but it covers most of the Boise Valley area too. So we can say we're now into Oregon a little bit. And we do have a link into Montana, and we have a link into Nevada at Las Vegas. And I'm really impressed with all of the different engineers and people that make this system work for us, because it's not just John or not just Mel, or it's all kinds of people that are helping and support the society. And the one thing I want you to know, each of you are engineers too, because your money that you pay as dues annually makes it possible for us to operate and maintain the system. Last year was a very, very unusual year for us financially, and it's almost broke us. We had to spend over $31,000 out of our funds to keep everything going and start repairs on Navajo Mountain. And I don't know if any of you got the booklet yet. Some of them we still have to mail out. This shows a picture of Navajo Mountain, and the tower fell over in the wintertime because it was totally covered in rime ice, which had built up on it, and it just made the whole system buckle and fall over. And we spent a lot of time last year. Even Clint went down and helped us, putting in the new foundation for a new tower. And we still have a lot of work to do this summer to try and finish it up. But we're doing that all over. And last night we had a meeting with our board, and we looked at all the 20 or 30 different projects we want to do this summer. And we just shook our heads and said, there's no way, but we're going to give it our best shot. And so there's so many things that are growing with it. When I first became the president of the society quite a few years ago, we had a little over 300 members. As of December last year, we had 900 members, and right now we had a little bit of a drop because everybody hasn't renewed yet, but we're at 800 members right now. And our membership has done a lot to support this system and make it work. Without the members, it wouldn't be there. And we do have some projects that we'll talk about as we do the presentation and introduce you to some of the sites we're at. And as we go through this presentation, we want you to look at these sites and realize, you know, a lot of people think, oh, well, John and Mel just go up to a site and all they do is they put one of these little handy talkies up on the mountain and it works. And it's a lot more than that. Just to give you a rough idea, to build a repeater on a mountaintop or anywhere, you require your actual repeater radio. You have to have duplexers to make sure everything is filtered and operating correctly between the transmitter and the receiver. You need a controller to make sure it talks properly and does everything you need it to do. We need power supplies, we need antennas, towers, and feed lines. And typically, we would estimate a typical site could cost us anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 if we had to replace everything with new equipment. And we are presently listing approximately 30 to 31 repeaters throughout the intertie system that exists throughout our geographic area. And that system is an open system. We do not require you to be a member of the society to use it. We want you to know that it's open to all hams to use anytime they want, to talk as long as they want. Of course, some people might get a little bit concerned if you talk for more than a half hour, but feel free to talk with your friends wherever they may be located. And a lot of people like to use it when they're traveling between here and Yellowstone, or between here and St. George or Phoenix. And it's a real fun system to use and operate. We do encourage you to be a member if you like to use it and use it a lot, but we don't require membership to use the system. Do you have any questions at this point? If not, we can get started with our presentation here. Let me see if I can get... John, you can interrupt me when we go along and tell me what I'm doing right or wrong. Do you want to do the demo first, John? One thing we've found, a lot of us never get the training how to use this little box. And many of us use it like this. Hello, is anybody out there? Can you hear me? And the proper way to use it, and John's going to demonstrate it, you have to push it into your mouth and talk like this. Because if you don't, it won't modulate very well, and your signal will not carry very well through the system. So please watch what John's going to do for you.
1 second, I got to change the camera.
Okay, we can work with you guys whenever you're ready. Takes a minute. Also, our membership dues are $20 a year, and we do give every member a booklet. How many in here are members already? Good, many of you. While I'm here, let me ask you a question we want to pose to all the members, and we're going to send this out to all the members. Our booklet cost is getting very expensive, and it's costing us a little over $2 a year now. And the booklets we bought to distribute this year cost us almost $2,000. If we were to publish the book every other year, does anybody have any concern or comments about us doing that? Would you all? Yes.
How often does the information in the book change?
I'll tell you what, it changes a lot, but not a number of changes. I could say every month we might find a change here and there. The other thing that's in the booklet, all of your names and call signs and phone numbers and addresses are in there. And we have found there's a lot of hams that they change their address and they don't tell us about it. So it's wrong if you don't let us know. Yes?
Is all that information also on the website?
We have chosen not to publish the member personal information on the website because many of our members were concerned about that. That's different than UARC because UARC puts all your stuff on the website, and that's fine. But the repeater information is all on the website. And the website is probably more accurate than the book because I know just today John was talking with 2 different repeater managers about them wanting to change something on their repeater. So some of the information is changing right now, which means the booklet we published last month is out of date. So just on those repeaters. But the reason we're thinking of doing it, there is some changes that happen all the time, but we think the member numbers, as far as membership members, it might change by 40 or 50 members a year, and the repeaters might be 10 or 15 changes a year. So I think it wouldn't be a significant difference, but you could get the repeater information on our website that will be updated quite accurately because John keeps that updated as soon as people let him know the changes that need to be made. Does that answer your questions concerning that?
You know, it sounds to me like publishing it every other year is probably feasible.
I want to ask all the groups I meet with that question because,
It sounds like the
yeah.
changes that
Yeah. Well, we've had a lot of suggestions from different officers. One of them said, let's do away with the book completely. And I think if I did away with that, many of you would say, why do I want to be a member of the society? Because the booklet's a really valuable tool to use. And I really want to see everybody have a booklet in their hands that they can use all the time. Yes?
How about taking the ARRL approach and say that membership is $20 a year and it's $25 a year if you want a booklet every year?
You know, that's an idea that we have discussed. I think it's a good idea. Let me just see by show of hands. If we raised the dues $5 to cover the cost of the book so we had a booklet every year, would you be willing to pay $25? Yes or no? Raise your hand, yes. That might be an option that we could consider. I appreciate that idea because we've discussed it, and our biggest concern is how many members would be concerned about a $25 a year fee, but it would help us a great deal too. Question?
Here's my other suggestion is we each get one and my son gets one. We don't need 3 at our house.
If
One would be fine.
That'll be great. I would love to. I'll tell you what I would like to do. I've got some members that have 6 family members, and every one of those hams wants their book so they can put it in their car. But if you guys only want one, if you'll let us know, I'll make sure that we only send you one.
That'd be great.
Did you get your book here yet? Come up after the meeting. I'll give you one book. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Are we ready? Yes. Okay.
Well, I have one here.
Oh,
do I
okay,
have?
you're good.
Do I have audio?
Yep.
Okay. What we have here is what's called a service monitor. This is basically it's a receiver, it's a transmitter, it's a spectrum analyzer, it's a tracking generator, it's an audio generator, audio demodulator. There's a dozen or more instruments built into this package all at once. We have it set up right now as a receiver onto a scope. I forgot to mention it's a scope too. It's an audio scope. And it acts just like a receiver, one of your radios. See, there's a squelch. Let's turn the volume up a little bit. You can hear the squelch. But you see, I see noise on here. That's the discriminator noise off the receiver. But what I wanted to show on here, we've noticed over the past several months that there's a lot of people that talk on the radio that don't really talk into the radio very well. And I wanted to show you this as a demonstration on the scope screen, if you'll change it over there. I turn my radio on, and if you take one of, this is a Baofeng, a lot of people have them, all the other brands, Kenwood, Yaesu, whatever, Linko, they're all the same. And if you key up on here, I'm a little too close sensitivity-wise, but if I talk a few inches away, you'll notice that waveform, it peaks up there on the very high end, but the average audio on there is very low. You'll notice it's only going up 1 or 2 units. I didn't like the RF signal. Press the zoom, get it back in the display again. But if I choke up on the microphone on the radio, if I get really close on here, you'll notice, okay, that scope screen is really going full screen on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you see that? Basically. But if I back off here just a couple of inches, I'm about 6 inches away, you'll notice the audio level's gone way down. And if you're on, especially on the linked repeater system, the people on the other end aren't going to be able to hear you very well. They'll have to turn their volume all the way up, and at the very end they'll hear that squelch crash, and it'll probably launch the speaker out of its housing because the audio is up so loud. So does anybody have a 2-meter radio here with them? They want to try a 146.52? Just tell me when you're ready, raise your hand, and we'll have you transmit. And you can see on here, you can get an idea when you talk how far away. As you noticed, for me talking, I had to have my lips pretty much almost right on the radio to get the full audio spectrum that's transmitted across. Some people think it's the repeater not passing the audio, but it's really the individual users' radios that people aren't talking loud enough into their microphone. Other people might talk in, and they whisper, 1, 2, 3, 4, my lips are on the radio, but you can barely see any audio come out. Whereas if I talk loud into the radio, then it's going across. K7 jail. I better identify since somebody want to try it with their radio? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and try it again. Let's look at the screen. Yeah, so your audio's fairly low on here. Try talking louder into your microphone.
Closer to your mouth.
Okay, your vowels are going way up high where they should be, but your average audio is about half of what it could be, is what I'm trying to say. To give you an idea, that's how you sound on the other end. Anybody else want to try? Go ahead. And you have a similar problem. Try talking louder into your handheld now. See the difference on there? Okay, anybody else want to try? 146.52 simplex. I thought I'd just show that so everybody here as a user will know how to 146.52. Yes, Gary.
So you're telling me the high-priced radios like Kenwood, Yaesu, Icon, have a shitty mic?
They all do. They all do. Every one of them. Now, back in the 70s and 80s, they had the preamplifiers on the microphone to whereas you could be back here, 2 feet away and you'd be 5 kilohertz deviation. But when you were close, you were very distorted. But they've reverted.
And, low fang, because you're talking on a $25 radio.
Exactly.
You're talking, like the Kenwood, D75 and, the ID52. And
They're all the same. You want to try that radio?
yeah, try it, Doug. KD7 and ZA.
Okay, that was very good.
I got a loud voice.
You have a louder voice. Okay, that's part of it. It doesn't hurt to have a loud voice when you're talking on your radio. Mobile radios are the same. It's not just handhelds. It's mobile radios and handhelds. So I just wanted to show that demonstration.
What brought this to our attention was we've had a number of other users saying there's something broke with the system. And at first we were going out trying to figure out what's wrong with our radios on the mountaintops. And it's not the radios on the mountaintops. It's the way we use our handy talkies or the mic with our mobile rigs. So we just wanted to let you know that so that maybe you can help improve the quality of your voice signal as it's going out over the system.
What I can say is remember to talk close and loud into your radio microphone. That will help tremendously. Any questions? Oh.
Go ahead.
For those of us without a beautiful setup like that, beautiful piece of kit, how can we practice? How can we see when we're dropping constants or vowels like you just mentioned, that we're not enunciating clearly? How can we practice and get better communicators on the radio?
Well, the best way you can do it is on the air, talking to other people and asking them, how does my audio sound here? How does it sound here? How does it sound here? You can do things like that.
The IRLP echo link would be, if you don't have a friend, you could talk to the echo channel on IRLP.
Yeah, that's true. They have an echo channel. You can transmit test 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll hear it come back, what you sound like.
You could also link into Leamington, transmit, and listen to the SDR up in northern Utah.
Yes. Well, you could use the Northern Utah SDR. They have a 2-meter receiver here in the Salt Lake Valley. You can listen to that on your computer, and you can talk into, let's say, the 6.2 repeater and listen there, and you can see how you sound. That's probably a very good way to do it. Any other questions? Oh, back here? Sure, go ahead. Okay, you had very high peaks, but your average is very low. Try talking louder into your microphone and closer. Yeah, that's much better. Anybody else? Blaze, did you have a question? What was the question again? I didn't quite hear
Where can you find similar equipment like you have, John, to do a test?
We bought this on eBay, and it was, what, $3,500 or something?
Yeah.
To give you an idea how much these cost.
Brand new, they usually cost $15,000 to $20,000.
Or more.
Yeah.
Some of them are in the $50,000 ballpark, some of the new digital sets. But you could find something similar to this in the $1,000 to $2,000 if you want to spend that much money. But this is imperative to have when you're working on repeaters so you can set the audio levels correctly. Question? Well, I'm not sure if I got all your question, but...
Is it better to talk louder to adjust the microphone gain?
Oh, louder, yes. Yes, it is. It's very important to talk louder. That would probably be the easiest way, instead of sitting here talking, a very quiet voice. If you start talking louder, you can hear the difference in the speakers, what it sounds like.
I know I'm a big offender of this situation because I usually speak very quietly, and I have to learn to speak louder into my mic.
Well, I think we all have to do that.
And don't be mic shy. Speak loud and let people hear you. Okay?
Yeah, another question?
Well, I was going to say a comment because you use the hand mic like he has back here. A lot of times that's a lot easier because you can get it right to your mouth.
Yes, it is.
Radio in front of you. It's easier to
Yeah, a hand mic is easier to do that. But there's a caution. A lot of hand mics sound terrible. Yeah. I found, and so anyway.
Alrighty.
Any other questions? Oh.
Linda.
Linda.
Power.
It could be power. I guess you need to run adequate power out of your transmitter to make sure that you have a strong enough signal on the other end, whether it's talking to somebody on simplex or through a repeater.
I think that everybody says I sound good when I'm on that one.
Okay.
Is it a powered microphone or an amplifying microphone?
Yeah, it's a microphone. That's so you can...
Oh, an amplified microphone?
No, what it is you can put it on, so I have free hands to read if I have to read.
Oh, okay.
Something.
A hands-free mic.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'd like to put in one plug for Baofeng radios. People like John and I that do a lot of work on mountaintops and towers, Baofeng radios are easy to repair after they fall 100 feet. You just go buy a new one.
That's why I switched to Baofeng radios, because I dropped too many Kenwoods, Yaesus, and
But I
they
think
drop them and they're
if
broken.
you want to spend the money for a nice quality Yaesu or whatever you like, go for it. I think it's worth your investment if you have the money. Don't drop it.
Just don't drop it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, should we run through
Yeah,
our
let's
presentation?
run through the
real quick?
presentation.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
I think what I'll do is just turn this around.
Okay.
and then I can be right here.
As we go through these different sites, feel free to interrupt us. It's now 8 o'clock, and this presentation usually takes about an hour, and we don't want to leave you here too long, but we'd like to run through a lot of the pictures. But if you have a question, don't hesitate to stop and ask John or myself a question.
Okay, this is our intertie map of the Intermountain Intertie, basically of Utah. Idaho's up here, of course, Arizona's down here, and this is in our booklet. Our intertie system's comprised of 2-meter repeaters that are all tied together by RF links, mainly for the state of Utah. We have connection into Idaho for the WA7 FDR repeaters. We have an agreement to be connected full-time into the intertie. We have a link into Evanston, Wyoming with a 2-meter repeater. We have a link into Las Vegas, the 14688 repeater, and that repeater is owned by the Las Vegas Repeater Association, but they felt it was important for their members to be tied into the intertie full-time. We have a link into the Arizona, the ARA repeaters, down all the way down into Phoenix, and we need to remember this is all built and maintained by volunteers. Northern Utah is comprised of the Hidden Peak repeater up at Snowbird, 14718. Now I want you to notice here, all the PL tones are 100 hertz except for just a couple repeaters in the state. We have Farnsworth Peak, that probably gets the most use here in the Salt Lake Valley, 14712. We have another one up north toward Ogden, 14549. Bear Lake, 14702. 14727 at Scotts Peak up by Brighton. And here's the Wyoming repeater by Evanston, 14686. Central Utah, we have another 14527 repeater at Levan Peak. This is one of the few, I think there's only 2 that use a different PL tone. The reason why is we can't use the same, some mobiles in the Salt Lake Valley will be able to get into the Levan Peak repeater if we had 100 hertz, so we had to switch it to 103.5. So there was a little bit of difference between the two. Then we have Monroe Peak down by Richfield, 14684. It's down by the Salina Richfield area, Sevier County. Currently the link from Levan to Monroe is broken, so they're not linked together this time. The Monroe Peak is standalone at the moment, but we're going to work on that this summer to get it back online.
And Monroe Peak is about 10,000 feet up, and the snow hasn't melted yet.
Probably won't be till after July 4th. Southern Utah, we're down on Frisco Peak, 14694. Blowhards east of Cedar City, 146,800 by Cedar Breaks National Monument. St. George is the 14682 west of St. George. The Jacob Lake is down south of Kanab, 147,300. Navajo Mountain is a UHF repeater, 448.600. That's linked full time. There's also a 2-meter repeater, 14696. It's not currently on link, but it's a standalone repeater. We may tie that into the system full time this summer. There's Todd's Junction, it's down by Panguitch, 147-200 that we put in 3 years ago. Into Arizona, okay, we're into the 448-875 repeater. Even though these are all UHF frequencies, they all still use that 100 hertz PL tone. We stayed that standard as much as we could.
Flagstaff gets their signal from Navajo Mountain by Page.
Right.
Gary posted a comment on YouTube. He was asking, please ask John to tell us about the Navajo Mountain Tower collapse and rebuild.
Yes, I have pictures. I just put them on today of some of the rebuild and some of the collapsed tower pictures. You'll get to see those in the presentation. This repeater's on Mount Eldon near Flagstaff. We have Towers Mountain 449-175 near Prescott. That gets us into the Phoenix area with these two repeaters, the 442-275 and the 441-625. The 625 is by Scottsdale. The 275 is on White Tanks, which is near Surprise. It's to the west of the Phoenix area. And then here's our link in Nevada, 146.88 on Mount Potosi. It's a high mountain to the southwest of Las Vegas. Any other questions? Anybody here have questions? Yeah.
I guess this is my second time coming. I'm not sure what a PL tone is.
A PL tone, it's a subaudible tone of in this case, 100 hertz that's transmitted in the background of your transmitter's audio. And that tone is detected at the repeater to open the squelch and activate the repeater. That's what the PL tone does. That's its purpose. This is not a carrier squelch repeater like the 6.2 repeater is. It doesn't require a PL tone on the 6.2. Any other questions today? Okay. Now we move to the Hidden Peak repeater up at Snowbird, 147.18. We first installed that back in 1974. It's right up on the tram tower structure. Many of you probably have been up there. This is an older 80s picture. There's our antennas on the very top. I think the next one is a newer picture. Last year it was taken. There's our same antennas on the top, but they've put a lot of other stuff up on the top with it. And there's the new restaurant they built up there. This is another view of our antennas on the top with some of the other antennas of systems that have been put up there.
That's just a J-pole thing?
That's what?
Is that just a J-pole?
No, that's actually it's a fiberglass antenna. Those are 22 feet long fiberglass. They're about 3 inches in diameter at the base.
Those antennas cost us about $1,500 a piece new.
Delivered, yeah.
How many lightning strikes?
I've replaced at least 2 of them from lightning strikes.
And we find little toothpicks all over the
And
ground.
it makes toothpicks all over the ground, a little fiberglass toothpicks, which nobody wants to deal with. This is our rack where all of our equipment's inside. Here's some of the cavities that are mounted on top. The other cavities are mounted internally in the rack. Close-up view. It's our repeater controller behind a power supply, and then these are some GE Master 2 radios that we've had up there since the mid-90s, and we're starting to replace some of those with some newer Motorola radios that we got some grant money from a year or 2 ago. And the lower part of the rack, this repeater is a Motorola Micor repeater. It's 100 watt output capable, and this amplifier failed last year, so I put the new Motorola repeater in that spot that used to take this whole area, to give you an idea.
Output power of the amp.
100 watts.
100 watts.
Yeah. The new repeater's capable of 100 watts, but I set it at 50, thinking maybe we'll get a little more life and service out of it if we don't run it all the way to a full power.
What was the age of that one you replaced?
This repeater was built in the 70s, and we put it into service in the mid-70s. I put it up there.
So it had 50 years of
like
service.
1975s, I put it up there. So, and it basically was replaced last year. So, we had good service out of it. The only thing that failed was that PA amplifier. Burns up every once in a while. There's a picture of the duplexer. It's still in its box frame. It's up there right next to the rack. Now we're going to go to the west side, Farnsworth Peak, 147.12. That's what the mountaintop looks like in the wintertime. We're at this site right here, the Fox 13 site. Our antennas, you can't really see them from this angle, but they're right about there on the tower. This is the KSL broadcast television site. This is where all your DTV signals, all your television comes off of that antenna right there. They're all combined into that antenna. And all these other antennas up here are FM broadcast, including some of these as backup antennas. There's a little closer look at the Fox 13 site. Here's our repeater antennas, the 2-meter repeater. Also have a UHF 449-500 repeater here. We have the 6-meter repeater is over on one of these antennas. And I think that's the UHF repeater, 448, 150 I think it is linked to that 6-meter repeater. So we have a number of repeaters for the ham radio at the Fox 13 site. This is our link antenna that goes down to Frisco Peak. It's this big dish-looking antenna. There's the other side of that dish antenna looking toward our path, toward Frisco Peak, down to the southwest.
Was that path 100 miles, John?
I believe it's 150 miles,
Okay, 150.
approximately. Let's see. This is an older picture of the equipment up at Fox 13. This is not our rack. That's they actually had some translators up there in the same building to feed Tooele, but our equipment were all in these 3 racks for all those repeaters. We also have the 9.4 repeaters up here too, 146 9.4. I believe it's in this rack from this picture, or is it? No, it's not in. This is an old picture. I need to upgrade that one. That's what we keep saying, we need to upgrade pictures. This is as of last year. Last summer, I took some radios out to replace. These are all the new Motorola radios, the SLR 5700s. They're only 1 rack unit high and they put out 50 watts. And we have all these radios. And this is the 2-meter radio. That's 2 or 3 rack units high. It's capable of 100 watts, but that's the 147.12 repeater right there. This is the old 147.12. I left it in the rack in case we had early failures on it, but now I can take that out. And
The new repeater radios cost
rid of
us $8,000.
the SLR 8000 is the model number and the price.
But the link radios were all around $5,000, right?
They're about $3,500.
35.
Yeah, each one of these is about $3,500, and we bought all these off the grant money we got from ARDC. We got $167,000, I think it was.
It was $165,000.
$165,000, and we were able to buy radios for this site, for Snowbird, and the opposite ends of those links.
Question.
Where's the control link receivers?
They'd be these link receivers. These are all link radios, transmit and receive.
So if I understand it right, say like the repeater goes hot and transmits, you got a control link to shut it off.
Yes, I can use any one of these as a control link.
Okay.
And even by the rules today, I can even use the repeater as a control link. By the rules today. They changed those a few years ago.
Maybe you said this earlier and I was asleep, but the link between sites, is that all UHF?
They're all UHF, yes. I'm using mainly 420 and 430 frequencies, full duplex between sites. Yes.
Do they have them on like the backup in case it's like
Well, they're all fixed frequencies, all the links. Is that what you mean? Oh, battery backup. Oh, I don't have any battery backup on these at the moment at Farnsworth. We do have a nice generator on the site, fortunately, we're at a TV station, and they want to make sure they have AC power there.
Whenever there's a
24/7.
power failure, that cuts over in less than 15 seconds.
Yes, so we don't really lose that much power. At this site, we don't really need the battery backup capability. Question?
Do you have any sites that don't have power lines running up to them that have to run on alternative sources?
No, I think every site we have has power to it. Yeah. I was involved with, Dave Williams had some UHF repeaters on
Black
Low
Crook.
Peak, I think it was.
Black Crook and Lone Peak.
Black Crook has
Solar.
solar now, yeah. And so did Low Peak.
Yeah.
They were all solar powered.
So they only work during the day, right?
Yeah. They have a lot of batteries too. You got to plan your budget in that case for operating your power during the day plus charge your batteries so they run during the night. So you got to have put up big solar arrays to be able to do that.
I won't go into
Go ahead.
I was
Yep.
going to tell a story about Dave Williams went up to Black Crook, and the only way you can get to that site's by helicopter. And he flew up there with the helicopter pilot, did all his work, and they left the building, and it was very cold, and the helicopter wouldn't start. And the only way he was able to get people to come up and help was through his handy-talkie that the battery was almost dead on. But he did get responses through the intertie system to help him.
Yeah, and we actually did turn all the links off. He was into one repeater on the intertie, and we said, here, it's your repeater, use it, you know. And he had to be rescued. Basically, they had to send a team in, and they had to hike up to the mountaintop and bring their rescue, you know, blankets and food and water. And then finally a helicopter later on came in and got them, so.
There was 2 rescue teams, and the rescue team that got to him had to be rescued.
Yeah, exactly. That's a concern when you take a helicopter to a site like that. Okay, going on, there's the view. It's nice to look at the Salt Lake Valley view from up there on Farnsworth Peak. Now we're going to go to Scotts Peak. That's up Big Cottonwood Canyon. I've called it Scotts Peak for many years. The Forest Service calls it Scotts Peak. In your booklet, you call it Scotts Hill. I've seen it called that also. The UARC 6.2 repeaters over here on another building. That's their antennas. We're on this tower, and our antennas are those two. One's VHF and one's UHF. That's a 22-foot long stick, again, 3-inch OD fiberglass antenna. And these are some of our link antennas down here and up there. I guess I don't have a picture for that one. Mount Pisgah is one we put in about 5-10 years ago. It's up going up toward Logan, Mount Pisgah, 449, 650. Oh, it didn't go here. There we go. There's the 2 hams that are putting the repeater antenna on top of this pipe mount on the building. It's a TV translator site. This is Ted MacArthur, AC7II from Logan. This is Bill Neville. He's passed away about 5 years ago. They were both instrumental in putting the repeater up. It's in this rack right here. These are some television translators. Now we'll go to Promontory Point. That's west of Ogden, 145.49. We installed this tower. It's 20 feet, around 25, and these are our 2-meter antennas and our link Yaggies. And I don't have a picture of the rack inside. We go north up to Bear Lake, 147.02. That's down on the, it's called Lake Town is the site name. It's not in the town of Lake Town, which is down here, but it's up on the mountain. Here's a picture. It's a TV translator site. All of this has changed. This is a 10-plus year old picture because all of this structure collapsed after 2017. There's how it all collapsed in the winter. Basically, just about lost everything. This is our 2-meter antenna. Thank goodness it didn't hit something, one of these poles, it didn't break it. Our link antenna's pointing up toward the moon, so we had to relocate that. And that's where we put all our antennas at, on the side of this, side mount of this weather service tower, our Link Yagi, our 2-meter antenna. And it's been working fine since 2017 that way. And here's a picture of the rack of the equipment inside. Repeaters, Kenwood repeaters, repeater controller, duplexers, filters, power supplies, another power supply. Now we want to go to Medicine Butte. That's by Evanston, right here, north of Evanston. There's the site we're in. We're in a lot of TV translator sites. Take a picture. This is a picture of the Link Yagis, the 2-meter antenna. This is the TV translator transmitting antenna. It's nearby. A picture of some of the radio equipment, our repeater controller. Now we're going to go way down south, Levan Peak. Whoops, what did I bump? Go back. Levan Peak's down here, down by the town of Levan. Levan Peak's 145.27. This is one of the repeaters that's a different tone, 103.5. There's the repeater equipment, duplexers, power supplies, radio, link radios. This is showing our lightning ground that we put in the side. We use polyphaser lightning arresters. So all the antenna cables come in, they go into a lightning arrestor right to a ground bar, and then we come off the other cable to our radio equipment. That's to protect the radio equipment so it doesn't get blown up when lightning hits your antenna.
How do they work when you get hit with lightning? You set it around and
Yeah.
receiver?
What usually happens is this lightning arrestor, destroys itself inside. The gas tube arcs over and you almost have a short on that connection, so these have to be replaced. But usually it doesn't affect anything beyond that. Yeah. We might have an antenna missing, lightning likes to destroy things.
Well, I've got them on my setup at home, and
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how these, whether it affected the equipment after a strike.
Yes.
We've not lost any equipment I know of to lightning strikes other than antennas.
Other than antennas, yes. That's because we're using all this lightning protection. We're on the state of Utah's tower. This is their big microwave backbone they have going through the state, and our 2-meter antenna's right there, right in between them. Now we're going down to Frisco Peak, down by Milford. Frisco Peak's almost 10,000 feet. It's about 9,700 feet. This shows our tower with our link antennas.
Take a real good look at all the antennas on there and watch what happens in the next slide or two.
Yes. Frisco Peak's on 9.4, 146.94 with a 100 hertz tone. This was about 10 years ago we put all these antennas up, brand new antennas. I think it's the next slide. No, it's not that one. There's a wider view, our 2-meter antenna and a 440 antenna. And these are all our link antennas. These funny looking pipes that are over here, you'll notice they're above the Yagi antennas. We got smart and we call those breaker bars. From falling ice that comes down, it's going to hit that bar and break up the ice before it hits our antenna and destroys it. So we put all these breaker bars in, and it's helped the survivability of the antennas down below.
You won't believe how much ice can build up on those towers in the wintertime.
Yeah.
It's just outrageously.
That whole thing could be one big chunk of ice in the wintertime.
How do you manage to get transmission out of it?
That's what happens when you get too much ice.
That's what happens when you get too much ice and your tower falls over.
How does it affect the
That's our tower.
And what was interesting about that, when that fell down, everything kept working, but it wasn't as good a signal, and we couldn't figure out why until somebody went up and checked our antenna tower.
They went up there, and this is a picture from the snowcat. They said, your tower fell over. Okay, question.
When these towers ice over, they don't fall over, does it really degrade the performance of the?
That usually does degrade it quite a bit when they're iced up, yes. Yes. And later, when all the snow melted, we noticed, hey, there are only a couple of Yagis that got crunched. A lot of antennas were pointing up in the sky, these link antennas. They survived. We thought, what happened is this tower fell down and it fell into these trees over here, and it held it from actually going all the way into the ground. We saw this feed on this high gain antenna going to Farnworth Peak in Salt Lake and thought, oh no, it's in the dirt, it's going to be broken, but it wasn't. We really lucked out on that one. Here's a picture of our racks of equipment. Radios, link radios, repeater radios, controllers, duplexers, cavities. This picture, this was the 9.4 repeater at that time. That's been replaced. We're going to upgrade that this summer with one of those new Motorola 8000s. So. Now we go down to the southeast to Blowhard Peak, 146,800. Notice again, our PL tones all the same, 100 hertz. We have quite a bit more equipment in here because we share this with Cactus. We have the 146,800 repeater. I believe this is all of our rack right here, the link radios, the controller. The repeater at the time was over here.
Has anybody heard of
Master
Cactus?
2.
Isn't that the one that's secret?
It's not really secret. They're a organization of repeaters, and you have to pay a membership fee of $105 a year to use the system. And it's an exclusive system for people who are by invitation only to join that group. They have a link all the way from San Diego to Fort Worth, Texas, and it has a link that comes up into Utah called the Desert Amateur Radio System, DARS, and Dave Williams maintains that part of the Cactus system.
Yeah, it comes up here to Salt Lake.
Engineers to join.
It used to be that, but now they've opened it up to anybody who wants to pay money.
They have a lot of expenses, power to run each site, and repairs and upgrades, just like all of us do. This is the Cactus rack and all their equipment, and we take up 2 racks, but then we have packet radio and a VHF and a UHF. We have a few more things up there.
You don't
too.
have a picture of the battery bank in there, do you, John?
I don't think I do.
Okay.
This is the back of the rack showing a lot of the cavity filtering we have and interconnections. A picture of the building and our towers and antennas. That's what Blowhard looks like in the wintertime. You get to the site and you have to spend 2 or 3 hours to dig out the door. Then Utah Hill, we're finally getting down to Utah's Dixie by St. George, 146.82. There's the tower we're on. It's just a mass of antennas that's on there. I believe that's the actual 8.2 antennas on the very top of this tower. And we're in, I have not been there, but we're either in this building or this building right here. I tend to believe we're in this building. There's a picture of the rack. That's what I upgraded today, showing the Kenwood repeater and link radios and our 2-meter duplexer. Oop, I did it again. There we go. Okay, now we're going to go to Jacob Lake, which is south of Kanab. It's up in the forest, 147.300. We're on a cell tower there. That's about 150 feet a tower. And it looks fairly impressive. Our antennas are right up here off on the side mount. One of these, that one or that one. We don't know which one. I'm trying to find out because we need to go down there and check it out. Now, this next picture will show you how big that tower is. There's an SUV. You know, the tower legs are farther apart than, what, 20 feet approximately? And those tower legs, I tried climbing that tower and I couldn't get my arms around the tower leg. It's bigger than I can touch. So it's very awkward to climb. It has climbing pegs on it, but it's massive. Here's when we were installing the link radios on the repeater, and we had everything kind of torn apart and hooked up, trying to make it all work. This is our repeater here. These are other repeaters that are on site. Now we're going to go to Navajo Mountain. Here's the answer to your questions. Here's some pictures of the Navajo Mountain installation. This is what the road looks like. You're driving on this nice highway out there in the middle of nowhere in Arizona, and there's Navajo Mountain. That didn't always used to be a highway. It used to be a dirt road 10 years ago. This is Don Blanchard, WA7GTU. He's working on the Heliax connector here. He is the silent key, but he was helpful and very helpful in getting us onto the site at Navajo Mountain. Navajo Mountain is a UHF repeater, 448-600, requires a 100 hertz tone. This is all our equipment in the racks. There's another view of it. All the Heliax or coax cables come into here. They hit a polyphaser on this ground bar and then they distribute to the individual radios. There's the 2-meter duplexer and the 2-meter repeater. This is a picture of us working up on the tower at the time. This was about 10, 13 years ago. When we put the UHF repeater in, that's its antenna. That's about 25 feet high off the ground. Now the next picture, there's what our tower looked like when we went up there in July. Ouch. It's just all crumpled and bent every which way. That's the UHF antenna in the prior picture. It actually survived this collapse. The tip of the antenna hit the dirt and didn't go in more than about an inch into the dirt. So,
Was that because of the snow of last year that did that?
Yes. We figured the tower iced up was probably a big solid piece of ice and it couldn't handle the weight, and so it collapsed.
It appeared that one of our guy wires snapped, and then after that, the rest of the tower just went the opposite direction.
I think the guy wire couldn't handle the weight of the ice load on it when the wind blew. There's another picture of us working on trying to figure out how to take all this apart. You can see these legs are just ripped apart. You know, just that's 1 1/4 inch pipe, and it just pulled the bolts right through the metal. I can't imagine how much force is on there. It ruined all those coax cables too. And this is temporarily, after we took everything down, we decided, well, let's coil all the cables up, which are coiled at the base of the tower, and we put the antennas up about 5 feet off the ground, and the Omni antennas, the 2-meter antenna and the 440 antenna, just at the very height of that tower. And this is a 3-legged tower, but at the time the bolt ripped out on one of the legs, so it's really only a 2-legged tower. And it's operating currently today, but the reason why is during the wintertime, I don't have that picture.
No.
We installed this new section of the tower right next to it, so it can't fall over that direction. That's the way it would fall over if it did. And it looks like all our cables we had tie wrapped on the tower leg all snapped off, and they're laying on the ground, all these extra cables. But that was a picture of the cell company that went up there. The power went out on the site, and I asked them to take a picture, and they did and sent that to me, and that's what the rime ice does. It collects on everything, and it just grows and grows. But thank goodness it didn't do it this year very much. Now we're moving down to Todd's Junctions down by Hatch and Panguitch. We're on a cell tower here. Basically, the cell tower became abandoned, and a friend of Ken Mumford in Cedar City is related to the owners of the tower and allowed us to go on the tower. That's the story, and I'm sticking to it. But anyway, we were able to put our repeater here, and our antenna's up. I believe it's that one right up there. There was a feed line and an antenna that wasn't used, and they said, well, go ahead and put your antenna there. So we did. And then our link antenna is just barely 10 feet above the ground. Here's a picture of the rack. There are only 2 racks in the building, and ours is one of them. It's pretty much vacant. Our duplexer, this is first setting it all up and making it work. The repeaters, power supplies, controller, filter cavities. Todd's Junctions 147 200, again 100 hertz PL tone. And now we want to talk about Idaho. I only have a few pictures of Idaho, but we have the next site is at Malad. We have a UHF repeater, 447-225. Also, we have a 2-meter simplex remote. It can be steered to any 2-meter frequency. I think it parks on 147.56, I think, or 55, one of those frequencies. But it can be moved to whatever we need to use it on. Sedgwick Peaks over by Lava Hot Springs, we put that one in about 3 years ago, 145-210. Mount Harrison, near Burley, is 145-27. You remember that frequency? We use it at 2 other sites. So we're good on our frequency reuse pattern. Jump Off Peaks west of Howe, it serves Idaho Falls, 146.85. That frequency fits into the Idaho band plan. Sawtells by West Yellowstone, 145.23. Then we go over to Schaefer Butte, that's north of Boise, 145.13. And then we have one at Mountain Home, just north of town, 145.15. And last year we added a new site at Snowbank, south of McCall, 146.66. And this is the new one that Mel mentioned, 147-100, will be coming on the air this summer. It's in Ontario, Oregon. It's just a few miles on the west side of the Snake River into Oregon. And it's a low-level site, so it's not going to have a tremendous amount of coverage, but it'll cover that western part of the Boise Valley. This is the Schaefer Butte Tower that we're on. It's a commercial site. Our antennas are here and here and here. We have a lot of loop dipole type antennas. Here's the rack. These are mobile radios that are made as transmit receivers for repeaters and links. And these are our filter cavities at Schaefer Butte. Here's our tie into Arizona. We link into that Flagstaff repeater, 448.875. It then goes down, that's by on Mount Eldon near Flagstaff. Then it goes down to Towers Mountain, 449.175. Then White Tanks west of Phoenix, 442.275. Notice their band plan changes slightly from what we use here, but in Scottsdale, 441.625. This is by the Scottsdale Airport. If you're in that area, it covers really well. This is a map of the Arizona system. This is Navajo Mountain right on the Utah-Arizona line. It links down to Mount Eldon by Flagstaff. And then it goes to Towers Mountain, and then White Tanks, then Scottsdale. That's the link system. This is all on 24/7. Everything's linked together all the time. Projects for 2024, we're just about done. Complete the Navajo Mountain Restoration Project. We're asking for all kinds of help. It's a long way down there. Let's see, what is it, a 6-7 hour drive? And then when you leave Page, Arizona to go up to the mountaintop, I think it's 3 hours just to get up there. Real fun. We're going to put a link into the Sinbad system, the UHF link. It's going to, let me correct that. It's into a repeater down in the Cedar Mountain area south of Price. It won't be directly tied into the Sinbad system, but it'll be a repeater that covers into their area. Build and install a new repeater. We're in the process for Morgan 145.35. And then we're going to add a link into the Utah County repeater on 449.575.
On one final item, one of the hams in Rock Springs has asked us to work with him to activate Rock Springs again, and that will be added as a link from Medicine Butte to Rock Springs this summer.
Right, we're working on that too. We tried to add that onto this slide today, and it did a really weird thing, so we couldn't figure it out. So anyway, the Intermountain Intertie system, just Google Intermountain Intertie. There's the actual address of it, utahvhssociety.org/snowlink.html, but just Google Intermountain Intertie and it'll bring you right to here. Our dues are $20 a year, and there's our address, P.O. Box 482 in Bountiful, Utah. Any questions?
You know, if you look at the massive amount of sites and things that we've got involved there, it's all there because all of you help support us to make that happen. And all we can do is thank you enough for all of your support. And we really appreciate that.
Yes, we do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. It's on? We're there? Okay. All right, first things first. No, you're fine. Okay, Mel, here's my new address. Now get off my back. Okay, everybody got a ticket when they came in, right? Okay, we're going to have a drawing. How many prizes do we have? Seven prizes. All right. Want to get that open for me? Okay, Linda is our official prize drawer. I'm going to take that camera with me. There you go, right here, Linda. 7. Okay, these are first come, first serve prizes. So if we call your call sign or name or whatever you put on the ticket, make a beeline down to where the prizes are right here.
Okay, there we go. I tried to make them so.
Okay, this should be 7. Let's find out. Okay, Nick, KL7. Can you read that?
My eyeballs on. Oh, GGG.
John Lloyd, K7JL. Dave Anderson, KG7UJL. Is that right, or VJL? Kerry Smith, KI7UHZ. How many is that so far? 4? Will W, no license yet. You're a winner, Will. Rick, KG7GOW. And we have a ticket here that nobody wrote on. The last 3 digits are 161. Who has it? If you failed to write your name on the ticket, you know who you are. Nobody's willing to admit it? Okay, one more, Linda. Here it is.
See, I tried to mix them up so people can.
Got it, thank you. Okay, N7JZU. Gary.
Hey, Marvin,
Yes.
I've already got your address updated in the book. I'm real quick.
Okay. I didn't know you got it. Okay, next meeting is June 13th. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.